Hello, everybody. Hello, Tashley, and welcome to the 22nd session of our very precious weekly virtual teachings by Venerable Geshe Lhakdor. Once again, we are here in this very fortunate gathering, and I hope we are all prepared to receive some more teaching, some more guidance. Geshe-la, please welcome and please guide us. Thank you.
Thank you. May all sentient beings meet with happiness and the cause of happiness. May all sentient beings be without suffering and without the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings know the joy which is without suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity. So before I start the actual text, I want to read a piece about optimism and pessimism. And it is said that the defining characteristics of pessimists is that they tend to believe bad events will last a long time. The COVID-19 will never go away. Will undermine everything they do and are their own fault. They think it's all my fault, things like that. The optimists who are confronted with the same hard knocks of this world think about this in the opposite way. They tend to believe defeat is just a temporary setback, that its causes are confined to this one case. The optimists believe defeat is not their fault, like circumstances, bad luck, or other people brought it about. Such people are unfazed by defeat. Confronted by a bad situation, they perceive it as a challenge and try harder. But pessimists can in fact learn to be optimists. So that's what we are doing. If you are pessimist, don't be a pessimist. If you are one, then at least you can learn not to continue to remain as a pessimist, but also learn to be an optimist. Now, how would you become an optimist? Optimist basically means thinking about good things. The way to become optimist is not through mindless devices, like whistling a happy tune, saying, oh, I'm happy, like that, or mouthing platitudes every day, and I'm getting better, just saying things that. But you can become an optimist but by learning a new set of cognitive skills. After all, whatever we are experiencing is dictated by our thinking, our cognition. So therefore, you can become optimist by learning a new set of cognitive skills. Right? Far from being the creations of boosters or of the popular media, meaning that this optimistic attitude cannot be just learned from boosters or some popular media. But these cognitive skills were discovered in the laboratories and clinics of leading psychologists and psychiatrists, and then rigorously validated. So I believe Buddhism is much more than that. It is dated over 2,500 years, right? And then another important thing that you need to learn here is in Buddhism, as we are saying, that you need to stop this die-hard habit, negative attitude, a negative way of thinking. So in this book on happiness also it says habits of thinking need not be forever. Oh, I'm like this, You should not say that I'm like this, I can't change, this is my way. No, you can change. habits of thinking need to be forever. One of the most significant findings in psychology in the last 20 years is that individuals can choose the way they think. Even if you're in the prison, you can be physically controlled, but nobody can control your mind. Starting from 1965, the favored explanations began to change radically. A person's environment was considered less and less important in causing his behavior. In the beginning, there is this discussion between nature and nurture. People used to think all is due to nature. But then now gradually we are learning that it's also very much dependent on nurture, how you are brought up, right? So this is, I'm reading this because this is, finding based on rigorous experiment and research. So for the first time in history, because of technology and mass production and distribution, and for other reasons, large numbers of people are able to have a significant measure of choice and therefore personal, personal control over their lives. So that's important. As far as the material facilities are concerned, we have so much at our disposal. Now, what is really lacking is internal transformation, change of attitude. That used to be the most important thing. Now it is becoming more and more important. Because today, as I said, we have all this material paraphernalia at our disposal, but still people are suffering from loneliness, depression, this, that, So clearly showing that the external facilities cannot bring that long-lasting peace and happiness unless the enjoyer of those facilities have proper perspective. So it is for the sake of maintaining a proper perspective, we are reading the teachings from Buddhist masters. Because the more and more you study some of these ancient philosophical thinkings, including the Buddhist thinking, you will find that today you will hardly find people whose thinking can replace those age-old wisdoms. That's why again and again, when we have problems and difficulties, we need to turn back to the age-old wisdom. So these wisdoms I call teachings like Buddhism, I call it perennial philosophy. They never become outdated. There is not expiry date for this because they are talking about the reality, the law of nature. So today we are reading chapter 21, which is about dedication and confession. Dedication and confession. Many of you are, I'm sure, familiar with these two things, dedication and confession. I speak in this chapter because these are two extremely important. One, knowingly or unknowingly, we tend to commit a lot of negative deeds. So it is important to confess them, to regret and to confess them as soon as it is committed. So therefore, the teacher of this teaching, Atisha himself, used to carry a stupa. If you look at the image of Atisha, you will always find a stupa behind him. So as and when he realizes that he committed some mistake, immediately he would get up and prostrate before the stupa and confess the wrongdoing. Imagine, great teacher, scholar like that. Even he has some negative deeds to confess. Maybe not, but just to show us how important it is. Then also interestingly, at the same time, he also used to take with him an achara, as we say achara, the ancient acharya maybe, but Tibetans used to say achara. Basically maybe achara, corruption of the Hindi word acharya, but it's basically something like a sadhuji. A sadhuji, that Atisha used to take with him was a very, very hot-tempered sadhuji. So on and off, he would just flare out, with anger. And Atisha intentionally take that person with him to practice patience, imagine. Right? In ordinary situations, circumstances, when nobody is bothering, it's very easy to say I'm practicing patience. But the test of the pudding is when you encounter volatile situations, difficult situations, that's really the test of the time, right? So that's why we always say that, meditation is very important, but the meditative during the meditative session is relatively easier. Closed, having your eyes closed and focus on something. You may or may not be concentrating on the object, but at least you get some kind of peace because having just settled down and sitting alone. But the problem arises when you get up from the meditation and enter into the post-meditative state and then meet all kind of people in your workplaces, in offices, in the street, and things like that. You meet all kinds of people, right? People who make uninvited comments, people who try to look at you, in a strange way, people who try to exploit you, steal from you, take advantage of you. You are in a, especially in big cities, all this difficult situations. So, under those situations, you need to be, number one, patient, and more importantly, you need to be alert. This is a very, very important word repeatedly used in Buddhism, is to be alert and aware, awake, awakening the bodhicitta, as we say. We use the word awake. The Buddha is always awake. I noticed something like this with His Holiness also. He's awake, not only through the text and religious teaching, but whatever is happening around them, who they are meeting, what they are talking, what is happening. They are sharp and alert and notices almost everything, right? So that kind of alertness is important. And the primary purpose is to see whether you are invaded by the negative emotions or not, and what's your behavior, speech, mind. So there's no practice more than watching your behavior, whether it's positive or negative, right? Therefore, the Kadampa masters, they used to say that I have only one job, not much. The only job is just to hold a spear and watch the doors of my senses and see whether the intrusions are coming or not, thieves are coming or not, robbers are coming or not. Robbers and thieves here means negative emotions are coming or not. If they are coming, I will be alert and I will push them, I will kill them, I will shoot them. If they are not coming, then I can at least relax and take a cup of tea or something like that. So that kind of watchfulness, alertness is extremely, extremely important. And another important point that I was reading today in a text was that when it comes to doing the spiritual practice or Buddhist practice, we need to do it on a continuous, regular basis. I might have mentioned this earlier because our mind is so much conditioned by wrong ways of thinking, negative emotions, that we are really stuck in the quagmire of negative emotions, right? So in order to decondition and condition it in the positive side is almost like an huge elephant stuck in the mud, not very easy to take out, even with the help of other people. You have seen elephant stuck in the mud. If it's a smaller animal, you can easily pull it out. But a big animal like elephant, even with the help of other people, it will be very difficult to take that elephant out from the quagmire. So similarly, we are so conditioned, number one. Number two, the situation and environment are all conducive for developing your stupid ways of life or negative ways of life. Not so conducive for spiritual practices, to be kind, to be compassionate. Despite your, trying best, the situation will compel you to react negatively or, and I've been watching this myself, you see. You go with some very good intention, you may be peaceful and calm. Suddenly, when you encounter unexpected, difficult situation, suddenly you show your true color. I call it your true color. It just comes automatically. So clearly showing that you really don't have control over yourself. So in order to gain that kind of control in all difficult situations is to continuously train, continuously to be aware and alert what I'm doing, what I'm going to say, things like that. It's very, very important. Continuously, uninterruptedly do the practice. Then it will become stronger and stronger. And in the text, it says that through that practice, if you reach certain level of realization, then even without taking much effort, it will come automatically. The higher you move, easier it looks like it becomes. It's like professional training, you know. In the beginning, like if you are training to play football or things like that, it's very difficult, you know. You will find that your legs are stiff, your knees are not supple, and things like that. But the more and more you train, then you know all the tricks, you see. Then it becomes easier. So like everything, like anything, you know, it needs a lot of training and continuous training. Okay, so training also, here we are talking about mental training, removing the negative emotions. So which is of course important, but also there's a lot of hard work, right? So that's what we are, for that purpose we are reading this text. So here I'll read the root text, whose translations you already have. Virtues accumulated in the three times be dedicated for the unsurpassing great enlightenment. That means the virtues that has collected in the past, or you may collect in the future, whatever virtues you collect, you must dedicate to the unsurpassing great enlightenment. Meaning, saying that I did these 3 rounds of circumambulation around the temple. May the cause of this good it become a cause to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Or even I have smiled with somebody and he got very happy. So that also is a, earning some merit. So dedicate that merit also, not for my name and fame, but to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. So it is, the example may not be very good, but it's really like depositing your money in the bank. If you deposit your money in the bank, these days you don't get much interest, but at least you will get some interest, and more importantly, hopefully, again, now things are changing, you see, so hopefully it will be more safe. Now the safety is also changing, unfortunately. So anyway, so something like that, right? So therefore, dedication is very, very important, because in the text it says, Shantideva's Bodhicharya Avatara says that if you dedicate it immediately, then the merit you have earned will never get wasted, never get lost. Otherwise, you might have done something very good, and next moment you get very angry, and then the good deed is just like heap of paper burned by the fire. It will be burned and it will be destroyed. So dedicate it immediately for the benefit of all sentient beings. Then it is not lost. So virtues accumulate in the 3 times be dedicated for the unsurpassing great enlightenment. And the merits be offered to sentient beings. So dedicating means whatever merits you've earned, don't say that by earning this merit, may my family become successful, may my health be good, may I get a lot of wealth, things like that. This will automatically. If you plan for the bigger thing, the smaller things will come automatically. If you think small, the result will be small. For example, if you dedicate it to achieve even nirvana just for yourself, then one day if you achieve nirvana, that's it, right? So it's important to offer it. That way your mind, your thinking will also expand, right? But if you just talking about your health, your success, many people, when they're able to appear in the exam, then I've seen many of them praying the Tara prayer, may I achieve success in the in my class 12 exam. So this may help you reduce your fear a little bit, but that's not the right way. So merits be offered to sentient beings. Now here we talk about sentient beings. You are talking about sentient beings with whom you have karmic connection for so many lives. You are talking about your mother sentient beings, basically. And isn't this wonderful that you dedicate all your good things to your parents, not just yourself, and parent also, just all mother sentient beings, who you know, who you don't know, who are happy, who are suffering, in different forms. Some of the sentences today look like they're happy, but deep down, as you know, they're in the samsara. So they are suffering from that. suffering, things like that, right? Negative emotions, things like that. So therefore, there's nobody in the world who doesn't have that problem, suffering. In whatever manner they are posing, as a president, as a prime minister, as a billionaire, I mean, even if you focus on the so-called billionaires, today you are number one in the world, right? I was reading that yesterday. Next day, so many of their billions of their dollars are lost overnight, and your number goes down. So there's no kind of certainty. So everybody has problem. It's a different degree, different types. So therefore, the merits be offered to sentient beings. Always make great prayer. So making prayer and dedication, there is a different. Prayer means pray for something. It's an aspiration that may become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings, things like that. Dedication means you've already something and dedicating it, right? So in English, the words may be totally different, but Tibetan, sometimes it is ngova and molama, a little bit confusing. So ngova or dedication means dedicating what you have already done, the good things that you've already done. Prayer is an aspiration that may I achieve this, that may I become this, things like that. Prayer is also important. Verbally praying few times in a day, morning, afternoon, evening, or whenever. And one very simple way is just recite this 4-line, I take refuge to Buddha, Dharma, Sangha until I become Buddha. Through my practice of giving and so forth, may I achieve Buddha for all sentient beings. So that way you take refuge to Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, also cultivating bodhicitta. And this you can do several times in a day. And that recitation itself will, in a way, boost your immune system. Your attitude will be changed, you see. That will inspire you to do many good things. So for us beginners, we need to adopt all kinds of manners and methods to encourage ourselves doing the practice by reciting, by thinking, by doing, which also shows that you're completely into the practice, right? So always make great prayers of the 7 limbs. 7 limbs. I think it will come in the end in the text. And doing thus, both merit and wisdom will be accomplished. So merit basically means cultivating wisdom is also collecting merit. But when we talk about merit and wisdom, then merit, we are primarily talking about all those on the side of the skillful practices like development of compassion, practice of giving, and so forth. Out of the 6 perfections, the first 5 are kind of categorized as merit, and wisdom is on the side of the insight, the realization of wisdom. But basically, it's of course collecting merit. And if you in this way cultivate the positive qualities, especially the merit and wisdom, the method and wisdom, then both the obscurations will be ceased. The obscurations means afflictive obscuration to nirvana and obscuration to enlightenment, right? The obscuration to nirvana is afflictive emotions. Obscuration to enlightenment or Buddhahood is the imprints left behind by the negative emotions. So that way you'll be able to remove both the obscurations to nirvana and enlightenment. And the actualized, so it is in this way that you can make your life meaningful. See, it's quite simple. Many people these days ask, what is meaning of human life? What's meaning of human life? This has been not a new topic, but it is a topic that has been discussed since Aristotle. When he used the word eudaimonia or something, which means happiness. Happiness primarily, as an object. In terms of the object, that is the student's happiness must be increased by depending on external situations, circumstances. Not much talk about the development of happiness through thinking of the student itself. But what is taught in Buddhism is helping the student change his or her mental perspective, right? So I use the word flourishing, right? Flourishing, human flourishing. The aim of education is human flourishing. So flourishing basically means not just successful in the material world and has a lot of friends, not like that, but in terms of internal mental, development. So that's how you can make your life meaningful. So now if you look again carefully, is that to achieve that Buddhahood, which is another name for ultimate happiness. So making your life meaningful means achieving that ultimate happiness. And then the practice of method and wisdom, having prayer and dedication, all these are methods to achieve that long-lasting happiness. So again, we can say that from Buddhist viewpoint, as His Holiness the Dalai Lama normally says, the meaning of human life is happiness. Of course, there are different views. Some people say it's not, the meaning of human life is not happiness, meaning of human life is benefiting others. But it comes to the same point. Why should you benefit other sentient beings? Then again, happiness, peace. So happiness versus pleasure. Meaning of human life is not pleasure, but happiness. Right? Thus one attains the unsurpassing enlightenment. So that is the point. So in this text, the first big part of text is really like Drom-tonpa praising Atisha, continuously praising Atisha by saying, you are Lama, and as my Lama, you have this quality, you have Sutri qualities, you have Tantric qualities, you have qualities of morality and so forth. I mean, Drom-tonpa was basically saying you have so many qualities, but you never pretend that you are somebody special. Even though you are a great Tantric practitioner, but you just, remain, in a very simple, ordinary way. And your knowledge is so vast and so deep, but when you speak to the people, you speak in a language people are able to understand, things like that. He's just showers kind of praise after praise to Atisha. And then after all these praises, then finally he says that since I had the luck to receive, all these great teachings from you as my teacher, as my Lama, now it is important, while I have this opportunity of seeing and receiving the teaching from you, I need to know how to, I need to know how to ensure that all these good qualities that I have developed are not lost. So I need to know how to dedicate it. So that was the question that is being asked. So there are interesting kind of answers here also, but I'm really tempted to read another Kadamba text, which really talks much more about dedication, which I think will be very, very interesting and very, very interesting. So therefore, in terms of dedication, as I said earlier, dedication means whatever good things you have done, whatever merits collected, dedicate to achieve Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Then here, this dedication is explained with some examples. The first example is just like a gate or silversmith. Now, in the case of goldsmith and silversmith, when golds and silver, materials come in their hand, the silvers, golds, however price may be, they cannot by themselves change and become a beautiful gold ring or silver earring or things like that. They are like transformed, changed into beautiful ornaments by that skilled goldsmith and silversmith, right? So similarly, whatever virtuous qualities we have collected, those virtuous qualities that you have collected itself is almost like neutral, right? It is through the power of prayer, it is through the power of dedication that it becomes a cause to become, take the life of human being, cause to be born as a celestial being, or Sarvaka, Pratika Buddha, or Buddhahood. So what will be the end result is dependent very much upon your prayer and dedication, right? The second example, very interesting example given is just like leading a horse. It says leading a horse. So when you lead a horse or any other animal, because you are the one who is controlling those animals. So you can lead them in any direction that you want. So similarly, all the virtuous qualities that you've accumulated can be led or taken into the direction where you want to take through the power of prayer and the dedication. So the next is that process of meditation. Then to what purpose you should dedicate it. Basically, we have discussed it, but this is important question. Then it says, we already said that it should be dedicated to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Now, the importance of this is explained by an example by saying that even a small drop of water, when it falls into the ocean, that drop of water never gets dried. Left in its own, just one drop, it quickly get dried. But when it is fallen into that big ocean, it remains there. So similarly, your small merit or your small good things that you have done may be small, but if you dedicate it to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings, the fruit of that will never be lost. That's one thing. The next example is just like a tree. Whatever kind of tree it is, to ensure that the tree, the root of the tree gets holds strong get hold in the ground, we need to first plant the seed, right? Nurture it, with water and things like that. And once you take care of that in its developing stage, then gradually you don't have to take care. The leaves will come by itself, the branches will come, fruits will come, and the fruits will also come for a long, long time. It's like that. It is by taking small care of that tree when it was in the form of a seed. So the root of all our good deeds, if we dedicate it to help sentient beings get out of the samsara and become Buddha, that fruit will be there for all time to come. Another example is, like for example, if you just go and try to hit somebody on the nose, right? And if you are unable to hit on the nose, instead you hit on his mouth. Or if you go to hit his mouth, couldn't hit it on the nose, you can make such mistakes, right? So like that, in many cases, we may not be intentionally trying to do something good, but just like, wishing to hit the mouth, but getting hit on the nose. Likewise, we may be doing something silly, stupid, but it ends up doing something good. So even those good things should be recognized and dedicated, right? So as I said, depositing money, in the bank, it is actually here in this text also. You have the interest and the capital. Sometimes the capital is lost, interest is still there. Sometimes interest is used, capital is both still there, right? So we have in fact collected many good deeds. So it's important to make sure that both the interest and the capital of whatever good deeds you have done becomes a cause for achieving Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Then also when you dedicate, you should change that dedication also. Change the dedication means sometimes you must have dedicated in the wrong way, or you must have dedicated it for an inferior purpose. So if you find that you've done a wrong dedication or inferior dedication, then you should change it. As I was saying, that if you're dedicating it just for yourself and things like that, now you change it to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Right? And then he also gives a beautiful example about sometimes when some of your close relatives and friend dies, then you make some dedication, how is it going to help? He gives a beautiful example by saying, for example, if one of your relatives is being carried by water, right? Carried by water, then this relative is being carried by water and he is not in a capacity to help himself or herself. He's in a helpless situation. He doesn't know how to swim and things like that. So in that case, if you go and just catch hold of his or her hair or a cloth, just by holding that, you can pull that person out easily, save the life of that person. So this similarly, your relatives or others who are gone and who are dead, they are basically driven away by the force of the wind of karma, right? And they really have not much control what kind of life they are going to have. And they do not have the power to choose happiness from suffering and things like that. So during such a time, the relatives remaining behind, if they do something positive, do some virtuous practices and dedicate it for the purpose of that person, it will help them. The example is a wonderful example. And in fact, Atisha himself clearly says, in fact, how long your dedication is going to help that dead person. And he says, until the name of that dead person is completely becomes oblivious. In other words, so long as the name of the person is dead long, but still his name is still there, so long as that name is there, till that long, if you do the dedication, it will help that person, where he is born. Now a question arises, can we do this with everybody? Relatives, not relatives, people you know, people you don't know? He says, no, that's not possible. You can't do it with everybody, but you can do it with people with whom you have relations. Relations, what kind of relations? Number one, he talks about relation. How, if there is a relation, how can you help? He gives an example by saying, for example, if few people are traveling, trying to cross a river, and then they are all tied together, then because of having tied together, each of them can help each other. So similarly, if you have that relationship, you can help each other. Now here, when we talk about relation, there are three kind of relations. For example, one, relation in terms of the ordinary, family relation, as we normally say, family relation. Second is relation in terms of, owning the same property or same material belongings. If we share the same house, same property, things like that. So there's relation through wealth. Third is dharmic relationship. If you have these relationships, for example, if you have this familial relation, there's a long story. I don't want to read that story, but he tells the story of once Buddha was invited to a family, to a group of people to do some prayer. Then some hungry ghost quietly visits the Buddha and saying that we got stuck here for so long, so nobody dedicated for us. So tomorrow, please help, dedicate that good thing that you do for us. This is a long story. And Buddha did this, and they all got, liberated from their life. So therefore, for our forefathers, for our parents, for our children, if we dedicate, the positive fruit will be there. As I said already. And then, if you have this relation in terms of material possessions, there's a story of Drom-tonpa himself, telling his upasakas in the Reading monastery. He goes there and says, you should all, put together, mix all your possessions so that you all share together. And that way, if somebody dies, then others can do the dedication and that person will be benefited. If you keep the property, by yourself and do not share it with others, then whatever dedication you do, you will benefit, not others. And this is sensible. Otherwise, somebody does the karma and you get benefited. That's not possible, right? Then the next is the relation in terms of dharmic teachings. That's, of course, easy to understand. And then he clearly says, if these three relations are not there, then you cannot just do the dedication for someone who you don't know, have no relation of any of this type. Now, whether you have any of these three relation is something that you need to explore carefully. And if you don't have that relation, then it's very difficult to help. For example, even in the case of Buddha, there are accounts that there were people who Buddha could not help. There's karmic action. And there are cases of people who Buddha cannot help, and some of his students were able to help because of having karmic connection. So this is, I think, a brief explanation about dedication. So therefore, the request is made to Atisha by Drom-tonpa by saying that since I found you, my Lama, at this time, it's important for me to achieve a secure place. And for that, I need to know how to do the dedication. Because you are the perfect witness in front of which I can do all these dedications. So he requested him to help him do that dedication. And then before answering the actual question, Atisha also again, praises Drom-tonpa, saying that you are the most important disciple, special disciple, you are not an ordinary person, all those things, And therefore, I've given all my teachings, including all the higher tantric teachings. I've given you the morality, I've given you the teaching on meditation, I've given you teaching on wisdom and things like that. And then he explains the meaning of dedication, which we have already discussed. So he talks about, dedication with 3 points: the preparation, the actual practice, and the conclusion. So for doing any dedication, the preparation should be taking refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha for the benefit of all sentient beings. For the actual practice, there are 3 parts again: the field towards which you dedicate, the thought by which you dedicate, and the material which you are going to dedicate. Now, in the case of the field or the object to which you dedicate, it could be the field of, somebody who has great qualities like the Buddha. Then, or it could be the field that has benefited you, like your parents and things like that. Or the field could be suffering sentient beings. And the thought should be, when you do the dedication, it should be free from the 3 cycles. 3 cycles means you as a giver, you as the person who does the dedication should not have that grasping to yourself. And the material object that you are dedicating, you should grasp to that material object. And then the act of dedication to that also, you should not have that grasping. So with a pure understanding of lack of inherent existence, you should do the dedication. I mean, here the point is, I think I've discussed this earlier, but 2 things, not only in the case of dedication, but a subtle kind of distinction that we need to make is, 1, things do not exist independently, right? We have been discussing this for long. Second, if things do not have independent existence, then how things are going to function? It's very subtle. We have earlier repeatedly explained things are like a dream, like an illusion, So how does function, things function? Dedication and things like that function, right? So here we need to know clearly that when we say things do not have independent existence, we are not saying things do not exist. Things exist. But the way they exist is like mirage, like illusion, like a dream. In the dream is a wonderful example, which we all get. So in the dream also, I mean, you get all the pain, all the pleasure, you get all the nightmare. Sometimes in the dream, you get a good dream that even in the dream, you burst out laughing, right? It's a dream, right? It's a dream. It's not actual life. But you get that same feeling of happiness, of suffering, right? So similarly, even though things exist, nominally, conventionally, they function. They function. Now, if you understand this a little bit, then your grasping and craving should be reduced because things are like so happening in such a quick succession, changing, ephemeral, nothing to hold on to. Nothing to hold on to. I mean, this is easier said than done. We need to reflect on this properly. I think I said this earlier, that the beauty of this teaching is the more and more you go into understanding the reality of things and understand this subtlety of having no dependent existence, things like that, and seeing things as illusion, dream, and things like that. This kind of understanding and thinking will strengthen your virtuous practices. It's interesting, funny and interesting, but it will weaken and reduce your negative emotions. Right? For example, just to give you a small clue, for example, take the example of an impermanent human being. It doesn't make any sense to kill or destroy that impermanent human being, as we say, because that person itself is impermanent, going to die, fragile. So why try to kill that person? It makes perfect sense to love and to have compassion to that person because that person is suffering, impermanent, fragile. It makes perfect sense. So I don't know how to say it properly. See, this I think is basically so profound and so encouraging. So encouraging. So that kind of insight will help you to understand that it really makes sense to help other sentient beings, to do good. It doesn't make sense at all to harm other sentient beings, to try to destroy things. Perfect sense. I mean, if you look at the external nature also, you see, whether nature is created by somebody or not, but the nature of nature is such that anything that you do positive, help them flourish, stay, live in harmony, grow, give fruits, flowers, things like that. I'm looking after some flowers these days, so almost every day I water them and let them. Almost the flowers look like they're smiling against me, So they don't talk with me, but they also, like, when somebody is taking care, they flourish, right? So this is in tune with the law of nature. Okay. So therefore, this thought must be free from any kind of grasping or seeing things as having inherent existence. Right? And then the thing that you offer is a material thing, or it may be your spiritual practice. It should be something that basically belongs to you, something that you own. For example, if there's a lot of discussion and debate, in the philosophical texts. I remember that very well. For example, there's a question saying that if you say go to a big city and visit a beautiful garden with so many flowers and things like that, then you as a practitioner, can you dedicate that or not? There is a question like that. Then the answer is yes, you also belong to that community, so you have also some partial right. So you can dedicate it, right? There's a question that if it doesn't belong to you, if you dedicate, then it's almost like stealing, no? So there's a lot of debate about things like that. So it can be something that you own, or it can be something that you like part of the honor. But then, of course, through mental visualization, there is no limit. You can make those offerings, right? So the process of, and the one which makes the dedication is your mind. And to whom it is dedicated is the Buddhas. And the process of dedication is seeing them as they appear, but with the understanding that they do not have inherent existence. Okay? Then if you enter into higher tantric practice, then there is a process of dedication in accordance with the generation stage, completion stage, and things like that. Then you can also do the dedication through cultivation of aspirational bodhicitta, engaging bodhicitta. There's so many ways of doing that. So when you do the dedication, just as Drom-tonpa is doing it here, by having Atisha as the witness. So similarly, when you practice that dedication, you can also imagine the presence of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in front of you. And then in front of them, you dedicate. And in front of them, you can also confess negative deeds. So you have a host of witness. And in front of this host of witnesses, the great beings, and then you can do this 7-limb practice, as we discussed already. 7-limb. 7-limb means paying homage, number one. So paying homage is important because paying homage basically means physical, verbal, mental homage, but with the thinking that I am going to purify my negative deeds. So paying homage or bowing down is symbolic of your practice of humility, right? Humility, because people who are arrogant, they will never bow down. So bow down. When you become humble, you become receptive. You become sensitive to the needs of others. When you become humble, you receptive means you are ready to receive all the good qualities from others. Not necessarily just from your teachers, but from other people also, when you are humble. But if you're arrogant, then you think you know everything. You never ask other people, and you don't also listen properly to other people. That's, again, big problem in today's world. Everybody is ready to share or talk, but not ready to listen. Listening is more important. That's why you have 2 ears, only one mouth. If you listen, you will hear a lot from others. If you just keep on talking, you will be talking only what you know, right? Oh. So do this paying homage. Then offering. Offering may be something, as I said, that you own, or it may be something you mentally offer. And that offering is also important because just as we highlight about the importance of practice of giving, so similarly offering is to higher objects you make offering. To ordinary sentient beings you practice generosity, right? Therefore, many great Kadamba masters, they say, I will not talk much about your benefit of your offering or giving, but I will talk about the disadvantages of holding, miserliness, stinginess. You see, even if you're on the deathbed, still you will think, I need this, I need this. You're surrounded by so many things, and it's so Keep on hoarding, whatever comes in the market. I need this, I need that. Your small room is flooded with all objects, many of which you really, really don't need. There are hundreds, thousands of people who don't have many of these things that you have hoarded and which you are not using. So it will be a great adventure and great joy if you one day explore what you have hoarded over the years and then make a donation to people who are really in need. And I'm not just talking. I try to practice this on and off. It's such a wonderful, not only helping other people, but at least you will be cleaner, right? Your life will be simpler. Your life will be simpler, right? So unless, as I said, unless you have some kind of internal mental contentment, even if you become the richest man in the world, look at some of the richest men in the world. They are not contented. They want more. They want more property, more, more. The more you have, the more you have problems. Nothing comes value free. And then confession, which is the second important topic of this text. Confession means we all commit negative deeds. So as soon as we commit some negative deed, it's important to realize and see that as if we had drunk poison. If you have drunk poison, you will never say, oh, I will go to the doctor after a few days, after 2 weeks or 3 weeks. No, because there is risk of dying soon, right? So you will immediately go to the doctor or somebody to take that poison out. And in this text, it gives an example of 7 people. 7 people. In this text, it gives an example of 7 people who go somewhere and then buys a lot of meat, poisoned meat. But then, joyfully they say, oh, it may be a little bit poison, but we'll not die. Let us eat. So they start eating their poisonous meat. Then 3 people die on the spot. 3 people are just very sick. And the 7th one is slightly better, but he also has eaten the meat. So he has this scare, fear. The 3 already gone and the 3 are, in the process of dying. So what should I do? So without a second thought, he will immediately try to vomit it out and go to the doctor and, do everything possible. So similarly, when we have, done a negative thing, it's important to not to say it is okay. It's not okay. Just regulate it. As Milarepa says, if you are somebody who is really thinking about confession, then regulating it, right? It's the most important thing. So we are using this word confession, but Tibetan word is shawa, tikpa shawa. Shawa means just like shing shawa, splitting tree, or log of wood. So when you cut open a log of tree, then you are able to see what is inside. So similarly, confession means just you show the truth. What has happened? You reveal the truth that you have done something wrong, right? Not hide it. That is the meaning. Then rejoicing. Rejoicing is a beautiful practice. You rejoice at the good deeds done by yourself. You rejoice at the good deeds done by Nordilla. You rejoice the good deeds done by Rajiv ji. You rejoice the good deeds done by everybody, right? You rejoice the good deeds of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, of course, but you rejoice the good deeds done by people who are much, in a much more difficult situation. Even you will see even these people doing many goods. I've seen many people, they are like materially very poor and educationally they don't have much education, but always smiling, relaxed, amazing. They speak very softly, very kindly, so amazing, right? So therefore, there is more reason to rejoice at the good deeds done by these people who are in such a helpless situation, you see. And then rejoice your own good things. Because when you have really done something good, then that is the time to rejoice, to sing and dance, whatever, right? Ordinarily, we sing and dance for stupid things, right? But when you've done really something good, then let us have a party, kind of attitude is really important. Yes, you're wrong. And one of the teachers says, this practice of rejoicing is such a good practice that you let others do the good job and you just sleep comfortably on your bed and rejoice at their good deeds. so with virtuous practices also, if you know how to practice it, you can get a lot of benefit. So therefore, people who have Dharma knowledge, they know how to purify negative deeds. People who don't have that, they don't know. Even if you commit a small negative deed, it becomes heavy. And there is an example in the text saying that Kepe Digbai Jiyaya. That means the negative deeds done by learned people, even if it is heavy, it will become light. Limbu Digbai Yaya Chi. People who are stupid, fool, who may have committed a small negative deed, which may be light, but it will become heavy. To explain this point, they give this example that if you make a piece of iron and change it into iron ball, right? Let us say 1 kilo of iron tin, sheet, and then make it one iron ball. Then you drop it in the ocean, it will immediately go deep down. So the negative deeds committed by people who are not landed is like that. But the same iron ball, if you flatten it, make it an iron sheet, then you drop it on the ocean, it will not go down, but it will float on the surface. Right? So you always so here I'll tell you a joke. Once in this connection, I used to tell a joke. I used to ask people, actually I read it in a book. I used to ask people, which one is heavier, 1 kilo of iron or 1 kilo of cotton? Then people, then people say, what a stupid question, Geshe. It's just 1 kilo, it's same. Then I would say, okay, you go down. First, I will drop that 1 kilo of iron on your head, or maybe the 1 kilo of cotton. So you will see which one is heavy. This is a just joke. So like that. Yeah, but yes, you're right. And then instigating, requesting Dharma teachers to give Dharma teaching, right? Because in the general Buddhist teaching, it says that you should not give Dharma teaching if you're not requested. Right? There are many people who just keep on advertising that I'm the great Dharma teacher. You come and listen to my teaching, you will get enlightened in 1 week, So Dharma has become a business, it's happening. But according to the Buddhist text itself, teaching itself, it says, Masol wal mijao. That means if you're not requested, don't give teaching. That's the general process. But if you really, after do analysis, if you find some people, or one person who is really, really humble and doing Dharma practice and looking for a teacher, but he's so humble that he doesn't dare to request somebody to give the teaching. If you are very sure about that, then even if you're not requested, you can say, I'll help you and you can teach. But generally, if you're not requested, don't give teaching, right? So therefore, now it becomes the responsibility of the followers, students, to request the teacher to give the teaching. And you will remember that Buddha, after getting enlightened, he did not give teaching. He did not give teaching. He was requested to give teaching few times, but he did not give teaching. The gods and the human beings, they all went requesting him to give the teaching. He simply said, I found something that is profound and peaceful, free from fabrication, clear light, unconditioned. Even if I teach, nobody will understand. So let me just continue my meditation. Don't disturb me. He was saying this because of many reasons. One, what he found really was profound and so forth. That is true. So thereby he is saying that if you really want to listen to the teaching, there should be some seriousness. You should really be serious. Do not take this lightly. Right? And then second, because the teaching, the realization, the knowledge he got was so precious. Right? At least the proper request should be made. So there are several reasons for that. So therefore, normally, it is important to request the Lama to give the teaching. And then requesting the Lama to not to pass away. Now, for people who don't have Buddhist understanding, they might see this as funny, the students make a request to the Lama, stay long, make this long life offering, then Lama accepts that as if he has the control to live long. So people who don't have belief, communists, they might say, what a hypocritical sin, this is all pretension. So how are you going to explain this? Once, when I was visiting Switzerland, giving some talks to the Tibetans long time back, they asked me to explain this. Then I explained this by saying, it's very simple actually, how this contributes to the longevity of the life of the Lama. I give this example of, after having observed some of the people who work in different offices. If you watch them, at 5 p.m. when the office hour is gone, then those people who have very good rapport or relationship with their family and their kids, they immediately go to their house. Then my wife is waiting, my kids are waiting, there is love, there is affection. So, both the house and the wife and husband waiting each other. So that will contribute to their health and happiness, of course. And I've also seen that those who do not have that great relation, then even after 5, they will not immediately go to their home. They'll just go at the meeting place of the market and things like that, and just loiter around, and then they go almost like reluctantly back to their home. And then you have this husband or wife waiting. How come, your office finished at 5, still, where are you? So you will be welcomed like that. and he will also, tell some lies saying, I met this friend, that happened. You can come up with all the stories. So what I'm really saying is, if you have this good relationship, that helps. For example, if you make this request to the Lama not to pass away, the Lama will be thinking that, he may not be thinking that I have the control over my life, so I have been requested, so I will live long. Not like that. Not like that. But he will be thinking that, oh, my life has some purpose. Many people are benefiting. They are requesting me. So I must take care of my health. So that way it really contributes to that. In a very superficial, mundane way, that is my explanation. Then deeper down, there are teachers who really have that realization, higher realization, who have control over their life. Then also in terms of having very good spiritual bond between the teacher and the students, this kind of pure bond will also help towards the health of the Lama. So there were several reasons. It's not just be fooling oneself, wishing so one day. And then finally dedication, about which we have discussed a lot. So I think that's more or less it, and my time is gone. So I'll stop here.
So thank you so much, Geshe Lhakdor. So now it's time for some questions. Jackie and Dinara, before you, can I please raise the question sent by Amita? She had sent this question a long time back in the chat box. The question was, Geshe Lhakdor, is it possible to not lose one's temper occasionally?
Possibly, it needs training. It's all question of training, as I said right in the beginning, right? Because if you think carefully, how does your losing the temper is benefiting you, right? And in fact, I remember very clearly somebody saying, losing temper means basically, we use this beautiful word, losing temper, but it basically means getting angry, right? So that gentleman says that getting angry with hope to harm somebody is like taking poison by oneself and expecting others to die. Because so getting angry means actually taking poison, you see. So forget about changing other situation. You will be the first victim of all these negative emotions. When you develop it, You're the first victim. So through training, yes, not easy, but through training you can change it.
That's so Geshe Lhakdor. Next we have Jackie. Jackie, you can ask your question. Yep, I sent you the unmute request.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for your teaching. Can I ask two questions? I'll try and be quick. First, we don't, like Atisha, you said had a stupa, so if he did something wrong, he would make prostrations to the stupa. What should we do? Like, besides just regretting, is there anything we should say? Is there any daily practice for purification we should do?
No, your question is like breaking a little bit.
So when we confess, do we just regret it? Is there anything else we can do? Is there anything we can say? Like, we don't carry a stupa with us, like a church does.
Confession. Confession is not just regretting, but regretting, of course, but more than regretting, you are saying that you are not going to repeat it again. That's the most important thing. You will purify it, and I will not repeat it again.
Thank you. And then my other question was from last week. You mentioned, I'm forgetting the context, but something like you go into the tent of light, watch appearances and cut the foundation and see the empty nature. What does appearances mean? Is that the same as dependent origination or dependent arising?
Appearance.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, this is really, I think, related, again, your question not so clear, but I think this is related to appearance and reality. Appearance, when we talk about appearance, we are talking more about the conventional aspects. The appearances of men, the appearance of women, the appearance of black, yellow, mountain, house, so many appearances are there. And we normally decide things going by the appearance, that she is good, he's good, this is good, that is bad. We just go by the appearance. We don't have time to go a bit deeper down beneath the skin and see what is the reality. So therefore, we make a lot of mistakes. Like, for example, even if you go for shopping, you just go for appearance. Oh, this looks beautiful, this looks good. And then you just, by the look, you buy it. And then later on, you find that it is not as good as it looks. Appearances are deceptive. So therefore, go deeper down the appearance and see the reality.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie and Gishla. Dinara, you can ask your question, please.
Thank you very much, Geshe. I have the question. I often think about the creation of the link for my dedication of the merits. For example, if I give the food to the birds in the park, I create in this case link with animals.
Merit, yeah.
Or if I participate in the project of create of the Buddhist books. In this case, I make the link with the people who read these books for my dedication.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dinara. Shrijan, you can ask your question. I've sent you an unmute request. Okay.
Thank you, Geshe, for this talk. Thank you so much. I also met you in the India Habitat Center talk in New Delhi, and you spoke about meditation on death then. And I am not very learned in the Buddhist scriptures or Buddhist texts, but I decided to take it up, and I have been practicing it almost daily in Kadampa 9-point meditation on death. And I wanted to ask if you can shed some light on it, because I couldn't ask.
Are you the one who wrote me this letter?
Yes.
Yeah, so I must say, I'm sorry, I did not answer, but the article that you had there, it's a very good article. You can practice like that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the other question is about chanting,
Yeah.
which is the different Tara chants and the medicine Buddha chanting. And also, like, I really enjoy it. Gives me also a lot of relaxation. And also the chanting of the Lotus Sutra by
Yeah,
in the School of Nature and Buddhism.
yeah.
So is this all okay? Because these seem to be different, because they seem to be from different doctrines of thought. And I also enjoy different chanting from different schools of thought, not just Buddhism.
It's okay.
So I was wondering, okay.
It's okay because when you do the chanting, you're not just chanting because of certain belief or aspirations, but when you chant, you're using your energy, wind energy, and that impacts the whole process of your psychophysical functioning. You see, so there is almost like a scientific explanation to that. So it's good. You do chanting, any chanting, yes. No, but if you're like somebody who is practicing compassion, then you do more chanting of Avalokiteshvara, right? Or if you're practicing wisdom, then more chanting Buddha is okay, but Manjushri, things like that. But otherwise
Okay.
it's okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Srijan. Thank you so much, Geshe. Now, before we wrap up our session today, I would like to make this big announcement. I wouldn't say small. We have a very big announcement. Tomorrow, Geshe is giving the first lecture of Dalai Lama chair established in partnership with the foundation at the MIT University Pune. So please check this out. We will send you the email. I hope you received the email announcement because some of you have already asked me questions in the chat box. So we will resend you the emails for more details. Geshe will be giving his lecture on Nalanda tradition and its relevance today. And with that, thank you so much, everyone. See you next week. Thank you so much, Geshe. We truly rejoice in the teacher we have, the teachings we have, and the fellowship that we enjoy. Thank you so much, everyone. Good night.
Bye-bye. Thank you.